Some people say he's the best ever, but when George Benson released Breezin in 1976, the jazz world turned against him. The album went triple platinum and hit #1 on the Billboard charts, but jazz purists called it the beginning of the end. They accused him of selling out, claiming his crossover into smooth jazz and R&B vocals destroyed his credibility as a serious jazz player. But here's what the critics missed. Benson didn't abandon his roots, he went back to them. So which legends did he rediscover that anchored his entire crossover sound? Before we answer that, let's clear something up. The criticism Benson faced wasn't really about his technique. Even on his most commercial tracks, his guitar work remained rooted in bebop mastery. Technical breakdowns of his solos show he alternated between complex jazz patterns and crowd-pleasing blues phrases, proving his instrumental skill never declined. The real issue was aesthetic. Jazz purists hated that he was popular. They hated that he made music people actually wanted to hear, but Benson had a secret weapon that justified everything he did, and it started decades before breezin ever existed. The blueprint came from Nat King Cole. Cole wasn't just an influence. He was Benson's favorite artist, period. When George was 8 years old in Pittsburgh, he won a singing contest by performing Cole's Mona Lisa. That performance earned him his first recording opportunity, but the connection ran deeper than just admiration. Cole gave Benson something more valuable than technique. He gave him a career model. Cole started as a highly respected jazz pianist before becoming an international vocal sensation. He proved you could move from elite instrumentalist to mainstream singer without losing your integrity. When Benson faced accusations of betraying jazz, he had historical precedent on his side. Cole had walked that exact path and remained a legend. Benson honored this influence properly in 2013 with Inspiration, a tribute album using Cole's original arrangements by Nelson Riddle and Gordon Jenkins. Critics praised it for warmth and smooth vocal delivery, proving that 60 years after winning the childhood contest, the foundation Cole provided still defined everything Benson did. But Cole wasn't the only singer shaping Benson's early years. Growing up in Pittsburgh, young George performed on street corners at age 7. Playing ukulele for money, he absorbed every song on the radio and jukebox because he needed versatility to survive. This was the doo-wop and singing group era, and if you wanted to make it, you had to know how to imitate almost anybody. That's where Sam Cooke became essential. Benson absorbed Cooke's style alongside Jackie Wilson and Little Willie John, studying how they moved between genres with effortless agility. Cooke's soulful phrasing gave Benson the flexible vocal palette he needed to sound convincing in any context. What started as a survival skill in competitive local performances became his greatest commercial advantage. When mainstream audiences heard him sing, they didn't hear a jazz guitarist trying something new. They heard someone who understood soul music from the inside. Benson proved this connection by recording Cooke's civil rights anthem, A Change Is Gonna Come, in 1979, and later teaming up with Al Jarreau to cover Bring It On Home to Me. These weren't just tribute performances. They were evidence that Cooke's influence ran through every note Benson sang. Now let's talk about the moment everything changed. Breezin in 1976 was more than a commercial breakthrough. It was a format revolution produced by Tommy LaPuma. The album blended jazz with R&B in a way that appealed to millions of listeners who would never buy a traditional jazz record. The instrumental tracks showcased Benson's bebop mastery, blended with funky Latin jazz grooves, but the real explosion came from one vocal track. This Masquerade, Benson had to fight to sing on that track. Producers had rejected his vocal attempts before, particularly during a session for Moody's Mood for Love, but LaPuma gave him one chance, and Benson nailed it in a single take. That one song changed everything. It launched Benson's vocal career and created the blueprint for smooth jazz and contemporary jazz formats that dominated global charts for decades. But it also triggered the backlash. Jazz purists saw massive popularity as the worst aesthetic sign possible. They couldn't accept that music could be both technically excellent and commercially successful. The album became the first jazz record to achieve platinum status, but traditional critics viewed it as proof that Benson had abandoned serious musicianship. The criticism could have ended his his career, but instead Benson doubled down. In 1980, he started working with Quincy Jones on the album Give Me the Night. Jones gave him a choice. He could make the greatest jazz record in the world, or he could go for the throat and chase global stardom. Benson chose stardom, but Jones added a crucial condition. He told Benson to search his roots for further vocal inspiration. This wasn't about abandoning authenticity. It was about anchoring his pop sound in real musical tradition. Jones pushed Benson to rediscover the giants who had shaped soul and R&B, and that's when two more legends entered the picture. If you've enjoyed this deep dive so far, make sure you're subscribed and drop a comment telling us which George Benson track is your favorite. We're building a community of people who appreciate the real stories behind the music, and your support keeps these videos coming. Ray Charles became essential during this rediscovery phase. While Nat King Cole had given Benson sophistication and warmth, Charles brought something raw. He injected grit and emotional intensity into Benson's R&B delivery. Charles came from gospel tradition, and that influence gave Benson powerful soul inflections that contrasted with the smooth jazz label critics tried to pin on him. This wasn't surface level imitation. It was about understanding how to deliver emotion with muscular force. The connection between Benson and Charles has been observed in live performances, showing their shared lineage in Black American music tradition. Charles gave Benson the tools to sound authentic even when he was dominating pop radio. His influence taught Benson that commercial music didn't have to be emotionally hollow. You could deliver real feeling while still making songs that connected with massive audiences. This balance became central to everything Benson recorded in the 1980s and beyond. Then there was Donny Hathaway. Hathaway's influence focused on technical perfection. He was revered for his powerful, clear voice and immaculate phrasing that blended gospel and classical technique. For Benson, who was already a master of precise, fast instrumental phrasing from his bebop background, Hathaway provided the model for translating that instrumental discipline into vocal control. This connection became explicit when Benson covered Hathaway's seminal track, The Ghetto, on his 2000 album Absolute Benson. By choosing that song, Benson linked his contemporary sound directly to deep, powerful R&B tradition. He had also previously recorded Hathaway's composition Valdez in the Country on his In Flight album, showing respect for both Hathaway's vocal prowess and his compositional genius. Hathaway taught Benson that soul singing required the same rhythmic precision and timing that made great jazz improvisation work. Every note had to land exactly where it belonged. Every phrase needed perfect spacing and breath control. This technical rigor separated amateur singers from true masters, and Benson applied these lessons with the same dedication he brought to his guitar playing. But here's where the story gets really interesting. There was one more player who shaped Benson's success, and this influence was completely accidental. Stevie Wonder never directly taught Benson anything, but he became the single greatest commercial force multiplier in Benson's entire career. When this masquerade hit radio in 1976, something unexpected happened. Listeners kept calling stations asking about the new Stevie Wonder record. They were convinced they were hearing Wonder, not Benson. This wasn't a problem. It was genius. At that exact moment, Stevie Wonder had just released songs in the key of life, and anticipation for anything that sounded like Wonder was at an all-time high. The confusion created massive momentum. Radio stations that normally resisted jazz instrumentalists played this masquerade constantly because audiences were demanding it. That sonic similarity gave Benson unparalleled entry into pop and R&B markets. Critics noticed the resemblance too, pointing out that Benson's lush, soulful tenor shared the same smooth yet muscular quality as Wonder's voice. Both could handle sophisticated, melodic interpretations that worked in jazz and R&B contexts. Music industry analysts admitted this vocal quality made Benson more marketable than his instrumental playing alone. In the changing landscape of 1970s music, that versatility separated him from purely instrumental jazz guitarists like Wes Montgomery. The Stevie Wonder comparison wasn't an insult, it was rocket fuel. The timing couldn't have been more perfect because Wonder was at the absolute peak of his cultural influence. So now we understand the five players who shaped George Benson's vocal identity. Nat King Cole gave him the career blueprint. Sam Cooke taught him soulful agility. Ray Charles brought emotional grit. Donny Hathaway provided technical precision. And Stevie Wonder, even unknowingly, opened the commercial floodgates. But understanding the influences only tells half the story. The real genius was how Benson packaged everything together. His signature technique, the unison guitar and vocal scatting, became the physical bridge bridge between his jazz roots and his pop future. This wasn't a gimmick. It was sophisticated musical dialogue. Benson executed complex, lightning-fast instrumental lines while simultaneously singing them, displaying bebop phrasing in a uniquely marketable format. Technical analysis proves his guitar work remained rooted in bebop and hard bop tradition. Even during his most commercial period, his playing featured advanced phrasing, superimposed arpeggios, and dense chromaticism that confirm unquestionable mastery. But here's the brilliant strategy. Benson placed his most virtuosic jazz patterns at the very end of sections, slipping them in at the last moment with such rhythmic precision that average listeners only heard the groove and fluidity. They missed the underlying harmonic complexity. This was calculated technical deception. He gave mass audiences the pleasure of infectious rhythm while giving informed musicians the complexity of sophisticated improvisation. He didn't compromise his technique for crossover success. He integrated and packaged his complexity to appeal to everyone. This approach explains why Benson's career lasted 4 decades beyond the breezin peak. His fundamental instrumental technique, his bebop phrasing, precise timing, and warm archtop tone remained constant throughout every genre shift. That consistency authenticated his claim as a jazz musician at heart. Even when he was topping pop charts, he proved jazz could be technically challenging and broadly appealing at the same time. His ability to weave intricate guitar lines with catchy vocal melodies redefined what crossover success could mean. 10 Grammy Awards and a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame confirmed what the early critics refused to accept. George Benson wasn't a sellout. He was a virtuoso who masterfully redefined the possibilities of jazz in popular music. The jazz purists who condemned breezin as the beginning of the end got it completely wrong. It wasn't the end of anything. It was the beginning of a new model, one where technical mastery and commercial accessibility could coexist. Benson's 5 vocal influences gave him the foundation to build something unprecedented. Nat King Cole showed him the path. Sam Cooke gave him versatility. Ray Charles brought soul. Donny Hathaway delivered precision. And Stevie Wonder's accidental similarity provided the commercial breakthrough. Together, these influences created a sound that dominated global charts while maintaining genuine artistic integrity. George Benson didn't abandon jazz. He expanded it. He took the discipline of bebop, the warmth of traditional pop, the emotion of soul, and the accessibility of R&B, and he fused them into something entirely his own. That's not selling out, that's mastery. If this story changed how you see George Benson's career, hit that like button and let us know in the comments which of his 5 influences you think was most important. And if you want more deep dives into the legends who shaped music history, subscribe now because we're just getting started.